Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful day because it's a Tuesday. Well, it's Tuesday night specifically, but that's semantics. We're getting besides the points. Welcome back to SIMseniors and welcome back to the show. Hopefully, you're here for some great racing because we are officially in the second half of the calendar, folks. And tonight we head to Belgium and to specifically Circuit Zolder. This track has got plenty of character. It's got a lot to love and a lot to frustrate drivers. But if there's one thing we are going to know it for this evening, it's going to be for it being the wild card of the season up to this stage. That's going to be for two primary reasons. One, the drop rounds are now in effect. That's going to mean the standings have taken a little bit of a shake-up. Things are going to look a little bit different. If you want to keep track with the standings and everything, then of course you know where to find it. So we've got the Facebook group, we've got the Discord, as well as our page online where you can have a look at all of the championship standings and keep on board with it all. But as we're about to go trackside, the other wild card in this equation is a certain something I like to call the rain. That's right, folks. We are in the wet tonight. Zolder is going to be a punishing mistress. And I know for a fact that these drivers, just to add on top of it all, you take a track like Zolder, you add the rain, and all of a sudden things get even more chaotic, a little bit more nerve-wracking, and for sure, drivers are going to be on edge right about now. So let's take ourselves on board and let's see what these races are capable of. Key thing to remember here is that you're going to see a lot of drivers try and push and find the limits, especially in race trim. When we get through this first sector, you've got some of those higher speed corners that are going to require a little bit more caution and care. So let's get that trackside audio rolling. Let's hear these cars actually rocket their way around the circuit. And let's have some fun. We're on board with Daniel Grech, third place in the championship at this point in time with 98 points. He's just 3 behind Wayne Bowler, who's in second place. Then Alex North, still up ahead, despite multiple drop round considerations, with 120. This is where we're going to actually see the championship standings start to converge. Those drop rounds being in effect means that drivers get to wipe off their best... well, wipe off their worst results, more specifically. Their worst result is going to be taken out of their championship calculation, out of their points tally. And that proves to be quite the equalizer, as we have some championship-flavoured surprises to deliver you. Yes, we do, folks. We've got Grech coming up to the line now. He's going to be the first time of the night. What's it going to be? Is it going to be? Where is it going to be? Who's going to come out on top? A little bit of bumping over that final chicane there. As we have Grech now coming up to the line. What's it going to be? It's going to be a 38.9. Will there be any return fire from the others? Here's Rich Arscombe making his way in his Aston Martin. P5 in the championship. A lot of other drivers have invalidated. What's Arscombe going to have? It's a 38.8, so barely squeezing up ahead from the others in the order. It's just a mere quarter-tenth. As Peter Smith, Ramon Lorenzo come across the line next. Craig Holmes overshooting the final chicane. That is going to harm his time, but at least it looks like he is still within track limit. So this is still going to be a legal lap. Comes up to the line, it's still a 38.9. So despite that overshoot, he's got it. I think he's got some serious power in the tank here tonight if he can harness that consistency. A few more points to be raising. The field is going to be pretty congested when we get onto the track. Of course, tonight so far it's just going to be the bronze class drivers on the track for the first 10 minutes of quali. Then it will be 10 minutes of silver, then 10 minutes of gold. Here comes Randy Zimmer up to the line. Yeah, folks, there is the time starting to come through, started to converge around the 139/high 38s. So it's very clear to anyone watching that we have got some serious contenders and seriously tight competition. Here's Mike Foxall, one of the few cars yet to set a time, along with championship holder Alex North in most curious fashion. Although he has just outdone himself there, as Foxall gets a 37.9, North gets a 38.2, just clipping himself ahead of Groich, who himself is actually half a second up in the first sector alone. Let's stick on board with him, as he had a purple sector 2. If he can chain that up with this beautiful S1 that he's got going right now, he might be in business. Here's Groich. Unfortunately, he has got an invalidation here, but this does give a chance for the others in the field to really snap up a chance here. Unfortunately, Randy Zimmer, despite being over a second up by the time he got to the final chicane, opts to negate. He's not going to go for this run. He's not going to take it. So that leaves the door open for a couple of other cars. Whipping their way to the final corners here. Here is Arscombe. Coming up to a second improvement. A second improvement here will put him square in the podium spot for his class right now. So Arscombe needs to link this final chicane together. A little bit of a time scrub. A little bit of a wobbly exit there. But is that going to be enough to push him up? It's going to be up to P5. So 38.250 for Arscombe. Where's the challenge going to be for the others? Ramon Lorenzo, 37.7. So Peter Smith comes up to lines to 39.0, but it's an invalid time, unfortunately. Where is Holmes going to come out of this one? As that Audi has really hit the ground running. He's gripped up nicely. Is there any improvements here? Unfortunately not. 37.4 is where it will stay, but what a time to be landing. Is Craig Niesbet. Fortunately invalidated, but just for sake of argument, let's see what he would have got had he crossed the line legally. It's a 38.9, so no improvement there. Just as we say, that's a David Smith. He's going to be starting a lap up with Sean Murphin just behind him, trying to get into the 38s. Up to the line to 38.9. He scrapes the time in on this one. It's a close run. Fortunately, not quite there. Looks like Zimmer is going to be taking another slow approach to the chicane, prioritizing that exit speed. He's going to be going for another run right now. And if I know what's good for him, I think it will be a close call to continue running and chasing. Beautiful run there, almost in disbelief. Arscombe comes up to the line, dominates that final sector. Beautiful show. Arscombe in his Aston Martin currently stands tall with a 37.3, but is there going to be any form of challenge from the rest of the drivers on this race course? Here's David Smith, comes up to that hairpin, or say, you can call it hairpin, but say very tight right-hander. They sweeping their way through. They hopefully coming in hot. David Smith, he's unfortunately lost a good chunk of time. There's going to be a small improvement, but it's not the improvement that Smith was looking for. Zimmer's got another bite of the cherry. He is 1 second up now. Please, Zimmer, do not abandon. No! No, Zimmer, you had such a good time. All you had to do was link up the final chicane and you would have leaped up the grid. Oh, that is a real shame. That is a crying shame. There was over a second here. Smoothly does it, though, as the rest of the field is going to come through. Here is Daniel Groich, new fastest time. Alex North, can he challenge and take the top back? 37.3 to beat. It's a 37.4 for North, and unfortunately, he's run out of time. He's got Craig Holmes now coming up to the plate. Last couple of corners here for the number 109 car. Hear him screaming through the gears. Weeping away up to the line. Holmes could have a chance here. 37.3 to beat again. 3:2.0. That is a new fastest time in the dying moments of bronze class qualifying. We have ourselves a new leader. Now, all that being said, though, it is time for the silvers. Linatus leads. He's certainly looking to take his crown back as the quickest off the line in terms of qualifying. And he's taking that wet weather to full advantage. He's sliding around all over the place. He's having a bit of fun with this one. Taking things nice and slidey. Question is, what's the benchmark going to be for the racers in silver? We saw a 37.3 from the bronze class cars, and I do want to say that we're expecting a natural jump of about half a second. But the thing is, we saw that theory be disproven. We've seen that theory be disproven. We saw how bronze drivers can really punch above their weight. The big chance here for some disruption in the order. And we'll see how the silver drivers handle it. Of course, we've got to share the track with a class that is both slower and faster than them. But they're right in the middle. They've got that middle child syndrome of the racetrack sometimes, where they kind of get stuck, not knowing where to go. You have a 3-class shenanigans on the track, you've got to navigate that as best you can, and that's never easy. Linatus makes his way up to the line to complete the first lap of the silver set. Although, that being said, looks like Sean Julius might be beating us to the punch. I might have had this one sneak under my radar here, folks. He comes up to the line. Is it a legal lap? No, it is an out lap. So, false alarm. Linatus, as originally stated, coming up to the line then now on this cold, rainy day that is the Belgian track. 37.4 initial benchmark from Linatus. Let's see what the rest of the field holds up as they all come careening through. Derek Hall, invalid lap. Robert Homer, 38.3. 37.3 flat from Felix Wildner in his BMW to immediately set the pace at the top of the order. Simon Eade coming down in his Porsche, not too distantly followed by Sean Julius, I believe. There'll be Julius and then Eero, actually, just behind him there. So they've got such similar numbers, 992 and 993. Here's Eade up to the line, 38.1. What's the Porsche behind him going to say about that? It's a 39.0, so a bit more in the tank for Eero, hopefully, as otherwise he's straddling towards the bottom end of the order. James Payton, 37 flat. Beautiful, beautiful racing so far, as the drivers have certainly got their wits about them tonight. Big opportunities coming in. 37 flat is the benchmark. Can we see any drivers take that to a 36? Slowly making their way to the line. All of the drivers will be taking their time with these initial runs. It's about feeling out the track, understanding your limits, and then with the context in play, going all in, full push. Wildner briefly going purple, although can he recover it in time to get to the line? It's going to be an improvement, but is it enough? It's a .077. It's not enough to dethrone Peyton Hall, as he's just come across the line with a 36.9. It's 3 milliseconds, but that's enough. He's scraped into that new echelon of speed, and now Peyton is looking like he's going to be smashing the new ceiling even harder still. He's 2/10 up as he heads into the final chicane. He just needs to link those final corners together. Big braking zone in the wet, probably one of the hardest sections to get on this track perfectly, as your brakes and your steering are being fully tested by the wet weather. Has he done it? Yes, he has. 36.790 for James Peyton in his McLaren. Immaculate running. Beeping through. So, the initial benchmark set for a lot of these drivers. The question then becomes who has got a chance to improve. Julius comes up to line, finally being able to set a time by this point now, and he's got a 37.5. He was cutting a little bit fine with only 3.5 minutes left in the session. A few more chances around the field as outlaps are beginning for many different drivers. There's going to be Felix Wildner heading into the pits just before the line, and that's going to be him looking to be going for just one last run, and otherwise is going to have his fill. Pushing forward. This is going to be a heck of a race tonight, folks. If you've got any drivers you are particularly looking forward to, then make it known in this chat. Curiously, despite everything, we are not seeing the current silver class leader in the standings today, and that is going to be Paul Hamby. He's 1 point ahead of Derek Hall, who is here and is second place in the qualifying session. He could even stand to gain a bit of time as he's coming up to the back of Linatus. Unfortunately, he just invalidated there through the chicane and coming out into Sector 2. There are a lot of the silver class drivers deciding that they've had enough. Now, we do see a little bit of reduced attendance. 31 drivers tonight, as standard, as expected. Because the wet weather can be a bit polarizing. It's not for everyone. We're not going to pretend that's such. But it's a heck of a time. It is a heck of a time indeed. See these racers go all in. So we will be seeing Derek Hall in P2. We see Linatus in P3, 8 points away from second. And 6 points from that is James Peyton, who has had quite the interesting qualifying indeed, as we are sticking board with him. Looks like he's going to be pushing that envelope even further. 36.7 to beat. Lost a little bit of time coming out of that sharp right-hander. And heading into the final chicane, can he get that back? That's the question. I don't know if he's going to have it in him. It's going to be close. It's going to be tight. It's an 8.57. It's not quite there. Shame to see. As we had a couple more drivers improve as well. We've had Simon Eade improve to a P11 spot. The board is starting to shape up, I'd say, quietly. Now, looking over at the pit lane, you can see already that there are multiple cars queuing up and practically begging to be released onto the racetrack. We've got a lot of the gold class drivers who are itching to get their laps done. So we'll have to wait and watch this space here. Sean Julius comes up to the line. 37.5 to beat for himself, although he's kind of lost some decent time down to a 37.7. Time's of the essence here. This is his last attempt. He has to get this one right. If he loses any time here, that is game over. Unfortunately, the checkered flag is about to fall for many as times are being closed. Derek Hall, best is... Actually, no, he's just snuck under the threshold here. So you can see the other cars returning to the pits as we have the gold class of runners making their way quickly onto the track. And looks like getting a little bit held up there as Grosges takes a bit of a slower approach to the race re-entry. Simon Eade improves himself once again to P9. And then a last couple of improvements as the field heads back into the pits on the silver side. We had last-minute jumps from Iro into P4. We had P5 for Craig Holmes. We had P6 for Daniel Gurechise, currently standing in a very good spot. I mean, looking at the top of the order, you can see it's quite an eclectic mix. We have got bronze and silver very much commingled together, folks. They are really running pretty close with one another. So last runs for silver as a whole. Smoothly does it. But there is Julius coming in with a P9. Question is, Linatus, is he able to sweep it through? He's going to do it. P3, 37.0, beautiful run. And then lastly from Derek Hall, he's snuck in under the threshold, he's done some magic, and he has claimed pole position for silver. What a show. I understand not everyone is able to make it tonight. We see a couple of our drivers who weren't able to make it, and say there's always next round, but also, curiously, we do see that not everyone's a fan of this track. Not everyone is a fan, and say some of that is fairly justified. I know that this track has had a lot of ups and downs in terms of league racing experience, and personally, in my view, I do enjoy it. I think it produces a lot of interesting scenarios, but just as quickly it can be a lot of drama and a bit much for drivers at times. So I can fully understand both sides of this one. Sweeping their way through the multiple chicanes. I think this track is especially brutal in the wet, and this is going to be one of those tracks that is not afraid to challenge you in a major way. Field is pretty tight here. The wet naturally brings drivers closer together. Combine that with multiple chicanes basically designed to keep your rear kicking. All of a sudden, you have got a recipe for chaos. But look at that. 35 out the gate. Grosges continues to impress at the sharp end of the order. He is second in the championship with Guillemard in first. Though those drop rounds are certainly playing a hand here. He comes up to line. It's only a 37. It's not where he needs it to be just yet. But there is still time. So Guillemard is top of the order with 117 points, 116 points for Grosges, and 112 for Lindblom. Considering and factoring in the penalty points, Lindblom's not doing as hot as he once thought. And I think that is going to be something that eats away at him tonight because, as we know, when we see Lindblom drop out of first in the standings, like a beast awakens. He has a 36.2 on the docket right now, so you can see immediately the gold class cars quickly sweeping away with the docket. All the way P1 through P6, and these are just outlaps, folks. Worth reiterating. These are simply outlaps. We've not even seen them at their full form, their full potential. You see Björklund come up to the line now, see if he is able to pull any specific magic out of his hat. 35.8 is the benchmark to beat. Wolfslener came through with a 35.8 as well, but 100th behind his teammates. You can see Lindblom go for some improvements as well. Lindblom is going to be hopefully harnessing some improvement here. He's got a few tenths on it, but can he string it all together enough? 35.892, so just under a tenth behind the current lead time. It's close, but it's not quite there. He needs to pull more out of sectors 1 and 2 if he wants a chance to be able to hit pole. Meanwhile, a little bit further down, Guillemard. Championship leader, lot to prove, lot on his shoulders. Makes his way through the chicanes nice and clean, but he needs to pull at least a second out of his lap in order to be able to consider the chance of a pole and get himself in the same contention as the rest of his peers in the group. He needs to pull out second here. Looks like he's teetering towards doing just that. Either way, it'll be close. 1.7 or 1.3 seconds stands between him and Grosges, who just set the new fastest. New benchmark. By a tenth faster than he was last time. Comes up to line. It's a 36.0, so he's pulled out basically a second exactly to the letter. I know I said pulled out at least a second, but I was hoping we get a 35 on the board because that would make the top end of the leaderboard very interesting indeed. Lang's just come through with the 35.9, 35.7 to beat here for Dave Marsh as he sweeps his way through the first couple of corners. He's already scraped and hemorrhaged several tenths of a second. Wolfslener, meanwhile, as he crests over into the second sector, he's got himself quite a neat few tenths in his pocket. Those chicanes could be his undoing. He's just lost time, and he's then... There you go, right there. He's dropped out. But, he can get back again. This is why qualifying is so scary. In just a single corner, you can go from being on top of the world all the way down to a major issue. A kiss of the wall, a scrape of an apex, a little bit too much airtime coming off of a curb. That's all it takes. The Wolfslener coming up to the line has not been able to hold and preserve that same amount of time he gained. 35.9, but it's not quite enough. Next few cars coming up to the line. We'll see some improvements from Björklund, Guillemard, and Lang as they are all working to extract more out of their cars. Björklund, it's a 36.1. Guillemard is going to jump himself all the way to P2 with a 35.6, but Lang coming up to the line here could be very close to a new pole, and he gets it. 35.395. Massively impressive run there, and a beautiful show from the Nismo on this track right now. Lindblom, what's he going to have to say about it? 35.622, 3 milliseconds ahead of Guillemard. Can he hold that same margin? He's unfortunately lost a good chunk of time in these final couple of corners. He wasn't able to hold it together. We have also Zintas making his appearance on the racetrack again. Say 36.5 is his current time on the docket. Going to be a close rush as the final minute dawns on this racetrack. You remember how it goes, folks. For those of you who are new here, it's a 30-minute qualifying followed by a 60-minute race. Drivers are mandatorily required to head into the pits for fuel, but there is also an additional option for the tyres to be placed. That is discretionary for the drivers, and if you want to go for it, you can. we do see the weather develop, that may be a viable option. Guillemot, unfortunately, is not going to be taking a pole position here today. He's not made it to the line. He's just been shy of it by a couple of crucial tenths. Maybe if he had that lap link together and that final sector was a bit kinder, he might be here taking one more shot. But instead, we have Lindblom, who's going to challenge for it. He's currently flashing purple. 35.3 to beat. That was courtesy of Matthias Lang in the 776. He has once again dropped a crucial bit of time, but he is going to hold it. 35.245. New fastest coming out in the last moments of qualifying, courtesy of Lindblom in the 888. Only one of the dominant forces in the championship for the gold side. But standings don't lie. Airmiles on top. Lindblom's in fact in third, and I think that's in majority part due to the penalty, the 10 points penalty that he received. Last couple of cars making their way across the field as we do taking a roundup and a look at the entire order and then getting ourselves ready for some racing. Björklund going for a last bite. Berfart coming up to the line in the 707. He's going to get himself a bit of a jump up into P13 with a 36.5. Is Björklund going to have it? He's a minor improvement, but not enough for position. And that, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, is time. And going for a bit of a slide in celebration. But there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. After a pretty exciting qualifying, I have to say. Lindblom takes top. 35.245. A whole tenth and a half exactly ahead of Matthias Lang, fellow Pixel Pilots teammate, and Nismo driver in second place. Third place, and completing your podium for gold, it's going to be current championship leader, Friedrich Guillemot. There you go, give us a bit of a headlight wave there for us, mate. But 35.625, certainly a solid time and a good benchmark to hold. Moving over to silver, it's going to be none other than Derek Hall. He really pulled out all the stops here for qualifying at Zolder. A 36.5 is a very impressive time. Second is going to be James Payton, who had some consistently good performances out of that quali session. 36.790, nothing to scoff at all. And then third place with the fastest 37 time with a .015, it is going to be Linatus in his third place. We're all done. Finally, bronze. Before we talk our standing order and the grid, it's going to be none other than Craig Holmes in bronze. 37.3. Really impressed us tonight in that Audi. Showed some real promise and some serious speed. Looks like he was very comfortable in that machine. Very planted. And those hundredths of a second mean everything. Especially when your opponent is Daniel Grosch. He's got that reputation. He's got some serious speed. And he's proved that once again here in qualifying with a P2. 37.350. And then a couple of hundredths behind that. These margins are extremely fine here at bronze. It's going to be Rich Arscombe, P3, 37.382. So within a tenth of a second, all three drivers in that bronze category have taken that step. But now, let's take our steps. Let's see what these racers have on the docket for us all. Taking you through one by one. First is going to be Lindblom, right at the top of the... Matthias Lang is going to be side by side with him. Pixel Pilots locking out the front row on the grid. P2 for the Nismo. P3 is going to be the Lexus of Friedrich Guillemot. The P3 alongside P4 of Peter Wolfslanner in the 196 Ferrari. Maximilian Grosges is going to complete your top 5, also in the Ferrari, and joined closely by Dave Marsh in his NSX number 27. Marked with marshmallows, you know he's going to be sweet. Another Pixel Pilots driver here, it's going to be Lorenzo Wiggle this time, with the number 317 Nismo, and then the number 75, the AJ Motorsports BMW, it's Zintar's rights. Closing out our top 10, we have Nicholas Björklund heading up row 5, 444 Lexus, alongside Colin McNair in his number 13 Iron Brew Nismo. Johan Larsson. Going to be the number 848 Lexus joining us on the track in P11 alongside Nick Coolan, the number 51 green McLaren. Victor Vervaart not too far behind. Another Pixel Pilots entry here. And the number 707 car who got a pretty exciting finish at the end of qualifying. Derek Hall is going to be P14. Remember, as they're leading on the silver front. James Payton, P15. Thomas Leonatus is going to be P16 here in his number 12 Nismo with Felix Waldner, the number 87 Pixel Pilots BMW, having some strong initial showings and enough for a solid position, 17th overall. Eero Vesurdi is going to be P18, and then Craig Holmes not too far behind in his very impressive Thunderbirds Audi and leader of the bronze. Daniel Grosch is going to be completing the top 20 in his Ferrari, number 431, lines up just ahead of Rich Arscombe, number 76, Aston Martin. Alex North, the prior championship leader and current even after the drop round adjustment, the number 207 Porsche has got some reckoning to do tonight. Sean Julius is going to be just behind him, a driver who we know can lock in some pace, but just needs to keep it all together. Simon Eade in P24 alongside Ramon Lorenzo in his matte black carbon Porsche P25. Mike Vauxhall is going to be in P26, a driver that also impressed tonight, but just needs to show full spirit. P27, Robert Homer in the pits. Pit starts. I'm not sure what's going on there. P28 is going to be Craig Niesbet, and then the last couple of cars on the docket is going to be Peter Smith in P29, closely followed by Sean Murphin in the number 180. You can see very striking with the yellow and the purple. Last two cars, it's going to be Randy Zimmer in the number 141 Ferrari, that bright orange we know and love. And then finally, it's the 199 of David Smith in his McLaren. So there you go, folks. This is where we are. This is where we stand. Drivers are now getting themselves ready to go racing in full. And the tension is high. The pressure is high. Beautiful day, isn't it? Okay, maybe I'm just pulling your leg. 19 degrees here in Zolder, so the track is cold, the track is wet, and temperature isn't going to be as much of an issue with these wet tires, but it's still going to be a problem for grip. The drivers still need to work those compounds, get them in the optimal temperature, and get them working in the way that they need to, so it's not going to be as simple as one may think. You need to keep a cool head, don't overdo it, focus on the race at hand, and most importantly, have a bit of fun. Just not at the other driver's expense. Everyone lining up 2 by 2 here. Track is about to go hot for an hour of Zolder racing. Have some fun here tonight, folks. What a race we are going to have here. As the rain always brings chaos, tonight may be no different. About to get the green flag from race control, and we are away. Here we go. Track is hot once again. Round 6, and immediately you can see drivers going for it. And oh, that's immediate contact. Immediately, chaos has fully bestowed itself upon the racetrack. My telemetry software has completely crashed. I can't even keep up. So many events are being generated. There are multiple cars marooned in the dirt, marooned in the gravel, and there's going to be some serious casualties right out the gate. What do you even say to that, folks? That is pandemonium of a start. Looks like the initial contact was between the 208 car and the number 196, which is going to be tied to Frederick Guillemard and the 196 of Peter Wolfslener. So we'll have to check in and see exactly what happened there in just a moment. In the meantime, everyone's scrounging and scrambling for these opportunities, these late game places. There is not any room to breathe. And immediately, we're going to see a lot of tension build between the multiple cars, the multiple drivers that are trying to quickly capitalize and make the best of the situation they've just been dealt. Sad to say, but we are going to immediately see multiple cars heading into the pits. That is just a fact of these big incidents. Looks like everyone's already started calming themselves down and splitting themselves out. So question is, where was the contact? Where did it all go wrong? So this is going to be looking at Guillemar's perspective right here as the race starts. Let's jump aboard the helicopter. So Guillemar on the left side, he comes in and he makes contact with number 196, Mr. Wolfslener, and that was when the trouble started. The rest, unfortunately, writes itself, folks. You see as well, there is going to be a certain Guillemar trying to limp his car back into the pits, as it seems like there was a major issue with him trying to actually enter. Anarchy is a bit of an understatement, I think, in this one. But we do have a big shake-up as a result of this. Where there is chaos, there is also opportunity. So for the drivers that remain, the drivers that survived that scuffle and struggle, they will be rewarded handsomely. There will be a lot of fighting back and forth. I mean, we're already seeing it as multiple cars are trying to tee up for better positions in this power vacuum. There's going to be a defensive move there from Victor, as there's Grosges on the left side. He holds his line, holds his nerve all the way around the edge as we get to the end of the final sector. The question is, there is a big wobble, and looks like Grosges actually lost some serious speed. He was trying to get alongside Verfart, but he couldn't do it. Briefly dipping into the dirt. Ursula is going to be hemorrhaging a bit of time as well, but it looks like he's fighting back and forth with Sean Julius, and the two of them made a little bit of a coming together throughout that final chicane. This could be a chance for Craig Holmes to really steal a bit of the show. He does have a chance to attack. He has got Lorenzo on his backside, so he needs to be careful to preserve the status quo. Don't do anything rash or overzealous. You will sacrifice your lead of bronze. That is always what can kill some major campaigns. It's the inability to exercise patience. Making their way through multiple cars now, quickly starting to fall into place, and a couple of moves starting to be teed up and hopefully falling into place for the drivers as well. Lindblom is on an absolute push. There is nothing going to be stopping this NSX right now. Because this is his chance. This is his chance to get himself back on the top of the championship. Although he does dart a bit deep and he slides through that final chicane. Just as soon as we say that, he is going to have multiple tenths eaten out of his time there. Matthias Lang, meanwhile, on the back of Peter Smith, he's going to actually dart itself into the chicane here. And a well-executed overtake. See, those are the overtakes that we want to see. It's not overextending, not pushing your limits, blaming the apex, but still being able to hold your own, and a very clean motion at that. Well done, Lang. Well done indeed. Smith is going to drop yet another position as he now gets overtaken by a certain Craig Niesbet. It's a worrying sight when you see a driver drop multiple positions within the space of a few corners. That typically indicates damage or some kind of problem as a whole. Looks like Eero is going to be suffering that exact fate. There's multiple points of damage. There is Foxall, who is marooned on the inside of the race circuit. Question is, what exactly happened? Let's jump on the helicopter and see. Dumping a little bit more throttle, trying to power out of the corner. He keeps it pinned. He starts to see some sliding, and oh, slamming both ends of the car into the wall. He's limping his way onto the race surface again, but then he ducks back into the infield, trying to keep himself out of the way of the other drivers, and that is good sportsmanship at its finest. We've had 6 drivers heading into the pits since the start of the race, and not surprised. Again, that opening situation was nothing short of anarchy. Let's just rewind the clocks just a bit more. I want to see another view on that. So this is the view from the back of the grid. By this point, we've already had multiple drivers collect each other, and you can see just getting caught in the crosswalk. I mean, look at McNair. McNair was pummeled not once, twice, but thrice here. Getting absolutely pummeled in his Nismo. I'm surprised that there is a crash structure after that. See Coulin having a bit of a power slide there through turn 2. Losing that crucial bit of time. A bit of time here being dropped. David Smith, meanwhile, could have a chance to really get the pushback on the likes of Robert Homer. Mike Foxall heads into the pits following his collision, and Wildner is going to be dropped as Coulin and Wolfslener both go for an overtake. We're not even 10 minutes in, folks. This is what I need to reiterate. We are not even 10 minutes into this race. And yet here we stand. One major track field incident later, and multiple overtakes sneaking through positions to be on top of this race course. Curiously, Liam Blom's been able to pull an entire second. He might even soon be able to get right back to the rear of Loris O'Wiggle. Bumped their way both through the chicane. Well within proximity at this point. It could be that things get a little bit more intense for Loris. He's on the defensive from one of his teammates, technically, but of course every driver out for himself. No chance to think, no chance to breathe. No chance to breathe at all. I'm going to keep an eye pinned here because we're going to just watch and observe Liam Blom's movement. See how he tries to just bait out on a wiggle here. Go. Look at him say he's getting a little bit impatient now. He's had a few back and forths. He's watched for any kind of moves that he can make, and he tried to size himself up into that first sector. This is going to be Liam Blom trying to establish dominance as soon as he can. In the wet, it's a lot harder to overtake, so this does result in drivers, ironically, pushing a little bit more in some cases. Coming in very close through the chicanes there, cutting it fine. Yeah, very fine indeed. Looking a little bit further away. Just for a moment, we see Groch and Smith coming together. So Groch has got a little bit of damage that he's trying to contest with, it seems. and wobbling the car over the chicane, but having a bit more confidence in the car has seemingly paid off. He's about to pull side by side with the McLaren. Is he going to have a chance to go for it, though? He's not really, because the McLaren had control of the apex. He's trying to size his way through, or slice his way through onto one of these apexes at some point, but just can't quite get it. Simon Eads going to be facing a major overtake as Lang has got himself a quick attack on the position. Well, Liam Blom continues to go on the offensive. He's trying to go for a bit of a switchback. He might have a chance here. It looks like his nose is somewhat alongside. In fact, significantly alongside. He's going to have the inside line all the way through. Holds it together. He keeps it planted. He keeps it foot to the floor. Question is, who's going to come out on top? This is going to be Liam Blom's position to lose, as the apex does belong to the Nismo. Chops it. He jumps it across, but still stays within track limits. The NSX has got it. He's got the position ahead of the second chicane. There's a local yellow being briefly waved by the stewards. Currently investigating the source of the problem. Like some minor contact between a couple of drivers. Villiers coming in to chase on Wildner as well. Lorenzo, unfortunately, is going to be seeing himself in a spot of bother. He limps his car back onto P18 trim. Field is starting to spread out a little bit more. Looks like Niesbet went for a bit of attack and unfortunately massively misjudged the chicane as a result. So not going to be stealing away that P18 today. That's going to remain in Lorenzo's possession for now. This could be getting a little bit closer. Wildner is his target. He is in the crosshairs there, and it looks like there might have been a position almost afforded, as that BMW for a split second looked a bit unsettled. Unable to quite hold on. Slowly closing in on that gap. This is something that Sean can do very well. He's able to close gaps. He's able to hunt down a driver and is able to get them in proximity. But where sometimes for Julius it can fall apart for him is in the execution. It is in the ability to seal the deal and hold down an overtake, especially after one has been executed and he isn't able to push it all the way to completion. So Julius, unfortunately, just as quickly as he went on the attack, he's having to then pull the time back as a couple of key misjudgments have lost him a second. And Björklund on the back of Grosges, the two of them run pretty close together. Smith has had an overtake on Daniel, as Daniel is still seemingly struggling a little bit, not really able to find his footing. Had a couple of brief yellow flags coming out from some of the cars on the grid. Interestingly, we have 2 pit stops for Randy Zimmer. A second pit stop has been executed. That is a problem. Now stands P28. Doesn't quite measure up to the pit stops of some of the other drivers. But most importantly, the field has gotten significantly spread out. In the case of those later most positions, not got room to really make any more mistakes, otherwise it's just going to be marooned and left behind. Not all for naught for some, though. Here is Lang chasing and overtaking on Holmes pretty effectively here. Wolfslener heads into the pits a whole 17 minutes into the race. It was stated earlier that the wets can easily last an hour, so pit stops for tyres aren't really a viable option. Instead, this does give a bit more variance on the fueling timing. Wolfslener heading into the pits. We'll see what that yields. Wolfslener is going to be coming out pretty late in the game. He's most likely going to be coming out around P26. If my calculations are correct. Meanwhile, at the front, Johan Larsson chasing one of the NSXs. This is going to be Dave Marsh. Marsh on the defensive. Big time, big time. Seriously, O'Wiggle has dropped himself over 3 seconds away from Leenblom. He's hemorrhage time. And pretty aggressive, trying to hold some pressure down. Marsh has got a pretty difficult spot on his hands. Defending from Johan is no small feat. No small task, but looks like he's rising to the challenge for sure. Two of them coming in very close as we head into the chicane. Iro could be in a bit of a similar boat here. He darts down the inside for Peter and David. So, of course, the duo that we have seen on the track for many a time, many a race at this point. So David's going to be at the back end of the pairing at this occasion, and Iro is going to push him one place further away. Well executed overtake there from Iro. Good attack. Always goes a long way. Larsson still hot on the heels of Marsh. He's not letting this go whatsoever. He has got himself quite the conundrum. Marsh right now looking for option. Ways that he'll be able to keep Larsson at bay, but until the pit window that he wants to take, it's not really on the cards for him in the way that he thinks. Just needs to hold the line. Hope that Larsson makes a mistake, maybe. One can only hope that Larsson just makes a mistake. In Marsh's case, that would be the dream, but Larsson, I don't think is content to give him the satisfaction. And in fact, it looks like Marsh is going to be the one that is privy to the mistake here. He goes off and briefly breaks track limits. Remember, too many of those, and you're going to be hit with some pretty serious sanctions by the auto stewarding team that are certainly going to be nuking your race. For a race that could, by all accounts, be going pretty well, have something like that hit you in the face is a kick where it hurts. It really is a kick where it hurts. Although Marsh is going to pretty much circumvent a lot of this fighting. He heads into the pits in a bit of a surprise move. One that I certainly wasn't expecting, because we're still 9 minutes until the halfway point where most drivers tend to take it. Oh, saying that, Larsson's not able to capitalise. He makes a major mistake without his benchmark to chase. I think he got a little bit thrown. Luckily recovered quickly, no major spin or having to spin back round. But a big slide like that is costing him several seconds, and it's already put him behind Maximilian Grosges. So just as soon as he had the reins to be able to pull some time out from his rival on the track, he's stuck behind another one. A painful truth. And of all people to get stuck behind, Grosges is not one that's going to take you easy. Going to give it everything he's got. Doesn't matter who you are. As would every driver. Keep the pressure high. Grosges is already walking away. Even just those few corners, we can see the amount of time he's been able to pull out. Might even see a little bit of fighting at the back end of the grid as drivers are now displaced through some of the pit stops, but taking just as much of a chance at position. Wolfslander on the back of Lenatus has a chance here to quickly sweep and push. Yellow flag coming out for Zimmer. Although it looks like that was just briefly jumping off track as he misjudged a corner. Got himself back right as rain now. You go. Even if it's apples to oranges, it's still some very juicy apples. And it looks like we have a bit of chaos unraveling. Smith goes wide, yields to Marsh. Julius briefly alongside Wildner again, or getting very close to, and unable to seal. Best lap coming in for the 888. That is going to be Lindblom, 33.965. That is going to be pace if I've ever seen it. He is almost a second clear of the next fastest time. Is ridiculous pace from the current race leader. And I think we are seeing Lindblom fully open up the taps. This is him unencumbered, unchained. John Murphin has to go through the pits, but not for a pit stop. That's for a drive-through, ladies and gentlemen. Having to head in for that drive-through, settle the score with the stewards. But unfortunately, that score settling has left him in P26. Felix Wildner is going to be sidestepping some of a fight of his own as he heads into the pits here and is quickly dropping down P15 and dropping. So by our estimations, we expect him to make an exit around P23. Different racers have started to fan out over the circuit. Started to fan out quite substantially. Wildner looking like he's going to be a little bit further behind than we initially predicted. That's going to be him coming out around P25, in fact. On the board, say, drop down off the end. But should be coming out any moment. See, there we are. Wildner, P26. Is he going to be able to hold on to P26 at least? Looks like it will be so. Groich is still making his way to the final chicane. Wildner, 26 is sealed. Now to get back out there. Do some real pushing. There's Victor with a brief off. We just saw that in the background. That is P7 right there. Local yellow's almost being waved, but quickly recovered. Niesbet heading into the pits. That is going to mark around half the field who have headed in, and not a moment too soon as we come up to the halfway point of the race. Björklund soon coming on to a opportunity. Johan Larsson has had a couple of wobbles on this racetrack, and that could be Björklund's advantage. Could have a chance to pull him out and into P4. Crossing the line for the 17th time. Racers but really shown their prowess here tonight, I've got to say. We did have a couple more updates. The number 331 car had a drive-through penalty that was cleared on lap 17. That was Craig Niesbet. Now emerges in P24 and still pitless, technically, as the regs do not count a drive-through penalty as contributing to your required pit stop. Do not count, otherwise one could view that as exploitable. Significantly exploitable. Is Derek Hall on the back? Or should I say David Smith on the back, as Hall went for an incisive overtake, although drops his two wheels into the grass. That's going to drop any chance of him being able to pull things back. The 888 of Lindblom is going to squeeze his way through, and that is going to be all she wrote. Lorenzo Holmes all in now. They are all in on the field. Like, even we're seeing some of the leaders start to take notice, as that is going to be Larson and Payton, both on track no longer. Question is, where will they come out? Because they have been right towards the front end of things for a good while now, for a good chunk. They've been sharp in the top 5-ish. Now we'll have to be reintroduced to traffic, as we've effectively created a two-tier race. Half drivers in the pits at this point, and half the drivers still out on their initial stint. Lorenzo is going to be close, but staying out of trouble as he merges out of the pits just behind, I believe that was Simon Aid. P9, of course, a lap down. Emerging behind. Johan Larsson, James Payton making their way out of the pits. Now, P12. There's an impressive timing, and looks like he's just going to be Iro to the punch. Staying in P12 as he re-emerges onto the track. Well played, my good sir. Well played indeed. Peter Smith going to be heading into the pits, getting overtaken by David. Rosges is going to do the same, along with Werfart at the front end of the pitch. Pitch of the track. Wrong sport. Rosges is going to be making a quick entry. He's got one of the pit boxes further up ahead, so it's a quick exit once he has done what he needs to. Lang might even have a chance to chase and get a position out of the jaws of a transition. Ulan is right on his radar. He is right there. There could be a chance. for him. Just needs to execute this well. While that in all of this and in all we've discussed, Lindblom is so far ahead. Linatus has actually just outbraked himself there, which is a shame because he was chasing down Peyton. Actually going to be dropping off into the dirt. So Spot of Bother there, put himself in a bit of a pickle. Back up to the front though, here is Lang. Coolin running together. Benade, here to Vesurdi, David Smith, all heading into the pit now. Leaving a solitary 8 drivers who have yet to take any kind of pit stop. This does include those who have had to do drive-through penalties or stop-and-goes, as we all get the information on the pit timer. Lang still chasing on the back and hard-coded in his mind to chase and overtake Coolin. Been pinned to the back of that McLaren for a couple of laps now. Gidder makes his way out. Smith going to be soon making his way out. Randy Zimmer, looks like there's a local yellow flag, trying to get to the bottom of that, so ascertain the source. Sean Julius heading into the pits as well, so that's going to be a couple of nice, neat positions for the likes of Oscom and North. Drag race between Lang and Coolin heading into the chicane. Minor bump between the two. Looks like carbon or a cone is flying off of the two of them. Two of them going all the way to the second chicane, where Lang has finally managed to pull an advantage and get the nose in just ahead to power more through on that slope and decline. Well played, Lang. You did have a couple of bumps, but you got the move done. Got yourself a P4. Julius being in the pits, meaning he's going to be coming out just around P16. We'll see exactly where he does come out. Looks like it's going to be... We are, exactly that, P16. Holmes chasing down on Sean Murphin. Now, worth remembering, Murphin has only taken a drive-through. Murphin has got himself a spot of bother. Will need to take his second stop fairly soon. Fuel's not going to last forever. Answer the question, if we had any major incidents. Oh boy, did we have a major incident at the start of the race. It took down quite a significant chunk of the order at the sharp end of things. I'll see in a few key overtakes here from the likes of Grosges, who's overtaking all of the pitted in drivers. Just went ahead of him. Björklund, Coolin, Arscombe, they're all in. Björklund soon to be coming out. It's going to be around P7. 8. The other drivers are going to be encountering the same. A little bit of a knock on the position, but still in good standing, especially when the last remaining cars go in for the pits. It will all equalise. Loris O'Wiggle, for example, he's not going to be chasing Lindblom for a minute as he's going to head into the pit. "25 minutes to go, folks, and having crossed over the halfway line, it's interesting to see how strategy has been so little affected by the rain, because fuel is the independent and key factor here. A lot of drivers have kept to the same pattern. 30 minutes in, you take your stop. Do whatever you need to do to get to the end. Simple as that. No need to deviate. We don't really see massive under or over cuts, but we do see variations by a couple of laps, which can serve well as under or over cuts, depending on the driver and how well they can execute. On Murphy heading into the pits. Zimmer is on the chase for a bit of position, bit of a challenge here. Sean just be coming out in a moment here. Out at the end of the pit lane. This could actually put him behind Colin in P28. Remains to be seen. North is in. Julius is in. Julius is in again. Okay, that I do not understand. This is his second pit stop now. What gives? Meanwhile, North is just finishing his first. Lang is about to come in and is coming into the pits, leaving Lindblom the sole driver yet to take a pit stop. Why is that? Is he trying to extend his advantage while he's got some free air? Or is there a bit more of a strategic move at play? One can only wait to find out. Looks like we have got a bit of an incident here. Nick Coolan off the side of the field, heading into the grass, having to quickly recover, but stay out of the way. P14 is where he will re-emerge, and Matthias Lang, having taken his pit stop now and finishing on that little saga. Lindblom is finally going to be heading into the pits too. Last driver to do so. It's a shame we don't have Dismukes to set a new single stint record, or the record for the longest stint initially in the competition for the season, because we have seen him push that envelope pretty hard. Lang and Peyton immediately, not even going to wait a second before going a bit of a back and forth and having a royal scrap. All the way through that first sector, right from the get-go, the two are going to be pushing hard. The number 993 car is going to be hit with a stop-and-go penalty. That is going to be for Sean Julius. So, that was the reason he was in. And he's out now in P25. He also had a stop-and-go for the number 6 car. That was Robert Homer. So, 3 pit stops later. A very difficult race indeed. He currently stands P. Interestingly, a still good chunk ahead of Mike Foxall. He has got the title of last to place right now. Goes to show how things can quickly spiral out of control. Smooth and easy does it. At this point of the race, we have 20 minutes to go, and the drivers need to decide how hard they're going to be committing to overtake. Now, given the wet conditions, given the amount of spread between the cars, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I am going to say that I don't think many drivers should be considering overtakes. Unless you are specifically within 2 seconds of another racer, I don't think that you should go for an overtake. I don't think you should go on the aggressive. I mean, for example, look at Grosges right now. He should not be on the attack. Lindblom is over 10 seconds away, and with the pace that Lindblom has been exhibiting, it would require an act of a higher power, it feels like, to be able to catch up to that driver. However, Loris, on the other hand, as we say that, we see a massive incident, so we'll have to come back to that point a minute away. Going to be Johan Larsson chasing down, as that is the 162 car of Ramon Lorenzo. We're going to switch to the helicopter cam and say they come out of the chicane. Lorenzo loses control, collects Larson in the process. It's going to be a game of double ping pong. Amazingly, both cars actually still end up the right way round. That is an impressive feat, gentlemen. But it still had some detrimental effects on each other's races. Lorenzo P25, Larson P7. Wolfslenner chasing Björklund like there's no tomorrow. He goes straight for the attack on the inside and does get a clean execution. Very hearty racing. Solid run from everyone. Get into the race's final stages. I mean, look at Loris. He's 1.3 seconds within Grosgez's position. He could stand to reason he'll be able to pull that back and actually be able to attack. I would not put it past him. I think that would be the way to go. Don't be overly confident, but if you have proximity on your side, I think it can be done. It very much can be done. We have seen drivers do more with less. And as we say that, we see Smith and Groich having a bit of a back and forth into the first corner. Daniel does not have the position despite having the apex. How will the Ferrari driver respond? He goes on the attack. He goes on the inside. It's going to be a pretty close call here. But it looks like Smith has taken a bit of the work out for him. He goes wide on the exit, slows down, and that is going to neuter his defense. But when we get to the next chicane, he's already up ahead, and Groich is up into P20, also known as P4 the group. Larson on the back of Björklund, having recovered from his earlier incident. Hopefully not much damage intact. Not much damage held. Hopefully he is intact. His car is intact. Larson is still chasing down Björklund no matter what he does, despite the damage he may have incurred. Still on the hunt all the same. Like we have a couple of yellow flags as well a little bit further away. This is going to be Pete Smith off on the infield. A classic overestimation of the chicane, I bet, given the position on the track. Groich is going to head into the pits though, and for penalties being administered. Johan Larson still chasing Björklund down. What is going on with everyone who some of those extra pit stops? Now, some of them are justified. Some of them we have, such as an SG30, such as a drive-through, as the number 431 car of Groich has now just testified to in the logs. That was a drive-through penalty that he has just served. Drive-through penalty is what he will have to face. John Julius slamming into the inside and the infield here. Let's get a rewind on exactly what happened. Onto the helicopter. Goes through turn 1, relatively little issue. Coming out of turn 2, dives the car in, doesn't quite get the turn in that he's looking for, slides almost all four wheels on the grass, and a gentle bump onto the inside wall. Scary bit was actually what just came after that, where he had a very slow rejoin to the racing line and could have, had he not had some awareness exercised, put the other drivers in near danger. So 15 minutes remain. Roach being humiliated in terms of having to first serve the drive-through and then having to contend with the other cars
technically be on higher laps and having to concede the positions, I'd be very frustrated in Grudge position. I do not blame him one bit. Was to be annoyed, frustrated, whatever else he may be feeling right now. I mean, that might be not the only driver who's feeling some severe frustrations. Foxall just had to serve a drive-through penalty as well. And you can see he's kicking the rear axle out. He's not having a good time in that Lambo. And more than anything, he's just trying to make a way up and make up time, and he can't. He's not really been able to pull that time out of this car. Not in the wet conditions he's not been able to. It's been a bit of a problem for him, at least so far. Robert Homer heading into the pits for what will become his 4th stop. I have to question exactly what's going on with this racer. Foxall trying to peel back time as best as one can. So sadly, is still an entire lap down relative to the competition. Will be in a bit of a middle. This trying to chase down his Audi. You can see that Sean Murphy, who is yielding off to allow him to get by. Here we are, folks. We come to these final crucial moments. At this point, drivers are locking in positions. Simple as that. Unless you're like Larson, who is actively embroiled in a fight, in this case with Björklund. We're going to stick with him for a bit. You are locking in your position. You are doing what it takes to defend and secure the position and the points that you... Lorenzo dropping down a couple of positions as Grutsch and Julius get a freebie. While Larson is going to be engaged once again in combat. Björklund and Verfart just behind him, actually. Coming in hot, looking for a chance to attack on Larson. He hasn't been able to execute and pull the gap into Björklund, so now he's in a trouble of his own. Taking a chance to push. He's going to have the chance and he's going to go for it. There is Larson with a bit of a rough exit, but side by side fully into the chicane here. And will there be a chance for Verfart to go on the attack? Looks like Larson had that one confidently in control. Got to the end of the chicane. It and him still up ahead. I've got to say, I'm impressed. Most impressed. Verfart is going to go a little bit deep, but he's going to be risking it all. He's barely able to hold it together, and I think that was evasive action from Larson that couldn't get the throttle down on the exit. So Verfart, in a way, he's used the grass to his advantage. He's lost control. Avoiding action by Larson has been taken into an overtake. You have a couple of local yellows, a bit of wobbles here and there. Look at the first instance. Nisbet. What happened to cause that yellow flag with them in the Nismo here? Okay, big hit on that right side, but still holding it together. Holding it together all the same. Smoothly executing on this one. Olsen might even have a chance to attack on Verfart now. Of course, the Aston took his spot initially, but with about 8 minutes to go, also known as about 4 laps or 5 laps here, could still be something left for him, and he's going to really go for it. Unfortunately, massively overshoots the chicane, and that is going to be a full concession. Not only his position, but his condition and proximity. Lang might even have a chance to bite at him now. There is no rest for him here. Seven minutes to go. Then could be within a chance. Same time, we are seeing drivers left, right, and centre start to lose their focus. Looking a bit as a Nisbet, we cut away, and he's launched a Pirelli sponsor board into the stratosphere. I mean, I get that it's wet and he's not got the most grip out of those tyres, but no need to take it out on our actual media and branding around the track, my friend. That's a little bit of a angry reaction, surely. A bit more of an aggressive reaction than maybe one would need. Do have still a couple more chances for racers. Ducking inside, McNair P28 and chasing down on the position of Sean Murphin. Now we are talking about, say, 2 different paces of racer here, but as we saw from the start of the race, McNair not having the greatest of times. He was also hit with a drive-through penalty earlier on in the race about 5 minutes ago. We had to go in and serve that. Unfortunately, while not every driver has had their fortunes play out the way that they hoped tonight, the rain continues to fall, the track continues to cool, and with a slide from McNair. Oh, that was a sentence. That was truly a sentence, wasn't it, ladies and gentlemen? As I was saying, not everyone's fortunes played out the way they hoped, but we still have 4 more rounds. We'll have chances for recovery, and if nothing else, the drop round may save some of the fortunes here today. And even those who have missed. Holmes chasing down on North. We have a local yellow coming out for Randy Zimmer very briefly, although it does look like he is still moving forward. So he's able to hold himself and hopefully going to be able to see this one through. North under defensive. Remember, this is the battle of P2 here, and Arscombe is actually leading on the bronze race. Had a bit of a lull, a bit of a quiet moment. And as a result, say, the individual races per classes were getting a bit of a wobble. A quick attack in the final minutes. Here comes Wolfslenner on the back of Marsh. Minutes to go on this race, and that's going to be equating to 2 laps. So Liam Blom is probably going to be finishing, by the looks of it, on lap 38 here today, folks. Is currently a third of the way through his lap. That means he will just about cross the finish line in time. Get one more circle round the Belgian course. Of a congestion problem, but nothing that these drivers cannot handle, and it looks like Wolfslenner, oh no, contact between the two, both of them go completely sideways, spinning out, and that is all she wrote for the two of them, quickly having to recover. Marsh is going to be the first to recover. Wolfslenner is going to dart back onto the course soon as he can, just a moment later. Let's wind those clocks back. Let's see again exactly what happened. So, as you can see, tiny bit of congestion as we come onto the straight. Now, Wolfslenner is going to peel to the left side. And as we see from the cameras, looks like just a tiny bit of contact from them, and then that spirals out of control fast. Fast losing control there, and a bit of a scary moment. Now, crazily enough, Marsh is able to recover into P5. So there was quite a margin of time between themselves and the rest of the field. He was able to recover that well. And even Wolfslenner now making his way past Lang, as Lang has headed into the pits once again with just a single minute to go. Team Bomb is going to be closing this lap out in just a moment, and then we will be on our final tour of Zolder round. It has been pretty ridiculous, but it has been a very, very fun one in my opinion. I've absolutely loved it. I think that it is a beautiful showing from all of the drivers, and even if there were some that didn't have things go well or didn't quite play at their best, to challenge a wet race is to go up against the toughest conditions that one can probably muster. Oh. We are having a minor hiccup in connection. Apologies for that one, folks. Trying to get exactly to the bottom of this one as soon as possible for you, but looks like we have reached some stability again. Apologies for that minor hiccup. We are back to normal broadcasting as we have a brief frame drop. If there's any desperate move, now's your chance to make it. Look like anyone's going to be able to take a bite out of this one. Not quite going to be there. And going for a couple of slides for good measure here. For a couple of cheeky slides. And oh no!
There is Coolham with a last-minute slam into the wall and briefly clipping out of the stratosphere. I do apologise, folks. But amidst all of this chaos and the brief technical hiccup, there is a driver who has stood tall and has been able to claim and take it all home. Liam Blom proving himself to be the juggernaut that refuses to yield even in the face of being knocked down in the championship order. He takes the checkered flag and the win for round 6 of SIMseniors tonight. Looking a little bit further away, it's Grozges in P2 and then Loris O'Wiggle, his teammate, getting a chance from P4 to score some very welcomed points. AMR is unfortunately going to be a little bit further out on this one, as he, in fact, I believe, retired earlier on in the session. We'll have to confirm that because he was one of the main drivers that got done in by the early incident. Drivers are now making their way in and through the field. Standing tall at the top of the silver order, James Payton. P4 in the standings, but certainly going to get a bit of a healthy jump after this, as he is tailed closely by Derek Hall in P2. And I think with that, this will put him at the top of the leaderboards. Only looking over at the silver podium. It's in the distance in the very back end, but it's going to be Lenatus. That is the one who takes this P3 today for silver. Beautiful stuff from Lenatus there. And then finally in the bronze, it's Arscombe, who's able to keep his nose down, keep it all together. North is going to be P2, and then Craig Holmes in P3. Brilliant job, everyone, today. I say Guillemot was, in fact, confirmed to have quit out. As we can see, 37 laps. He was not able to make it to the end. And, in fact, bowed out fairly early, I think, due to the major incident we saw. That is game over, folks. That is the session done for tonight, and this is where we're going to leave you. Now, in terms of the next race, I've got ourselves none other than Snetterton. That's right, it's a return to UK soil for a doubleheader. Snetterton followed by Alton Park. So we're bringing it in-house, we're bringing it home for a little bit here, at least. And then we'll be finishing off with the Nürburgring GP circuit. We had the Nordschleife in round 4. Then Austria close the season at the end of March. But that's where we're going to have to love you and leave you, folks. As I ask you all, take care. Have a very great evening, or wherever you are in the world. Have a great rest of your day. Take all the best care, and we will see you very soon. But for now, good night, folks.